Hey everybody, Anish Majumdar here, career coach and fierce advocate for transitioning leaders. Hope your day is going well. Very excited to answer this question. All right, I've been getting this a ton, so I thought a quick video would be the best way to address it. What is the most important thing to do if you're looking for a new job and were underpaid at your last one? Very simple. Go big. Go big. Listen, you know that phrase, fake it till you make it? If you've spent the last couple of years in a job that you know you've been underpaid, you know that you haven't been progressing forward, you need to affirm your worst fears about that, okay? Almost to a man or a woman. And I have coached people who've been in this situation now for over 12 years, okay? The answer is not being conservative. The answer isn't, how do I not make a mistake or fall into the same trap that I was in that brought me to this position? No, it's about sort of defeating the Stockholm syndrome that came out of that role, right? Meaning you've got to assume you have no idea what your market worth is. Right now, you have no idea the level of offers that you can get out there. So we need to go big. You need to own the highest possible brand, the highest possible methodology, and the highest possible strategy to get out of this once and for all. Now, if you don't, okay, if you say, look, at the end of the day, and you'll know who I'm talking about, if you're doing this. If you're currently like using all of this as an excuse to make justifications and you're saying, look, it's not so bad. And, I know other peers in my industry who are like, making not that much more than this, times are hard. Listen, if you engage in that kind of thinking, all of the problems that brought you to this point are just going to be established. You need to make a decision in terms of what role that last job or company had. Was that a blip in terms of a larger amount of impact that you're having? Or is that the beginning of a precedent, right? Is that the beginning of a new way of looking at who you are? Look, let's not beat around the bush. Not everyone's career journey is successful. I've come across plenty of people that when you see their journey, you're like, man, they were on a wonderful thing, and then they just started accepting. They accepted the plateau as a new normal. And there does come a point where people are like, look, you're out. Unless you're willing to do something completely radical, your value has been benchmarked in, and it's not a value that you want, right? So what role does this play? If it's a blip, if it's something that you need to move forward out of, and you need to approach the strategy of getting the new job as a proof of concept of that way of thinking about it, okay? Now, let me give you some examples. All right. In terms of going big, number one, okay? Well, there's three things I'm going to go over. How high level your brand and offer is easily the most important thing you can do to protect yourself and get the types of offers that you want and that you would deserve right now, okay? Number two, how targeted you are with who you speak to and how you pursue those opportunities. That's number two. And then finally, the moves you are making to magnify your own platform, no matter how humble. In other words, every move you're taking right now to start associating yourself with a way of moving things forward, a certain kind of outcome that is not dependent on you as a part of a company or a job title, that so much the better. These are the three, okay? If I've been habitually underpaid, these are the three levers that I'm gonna go big on in order to get this outcome the way that I want quickly, okay? So let's break this down. High level brand, okay? You want to benchmark at least 2 levels up from where you think you need to be. If you're saying, hey, I wanna be a VP, you should not be targeting VPs. You should be targeting at a minimum SVP on up. Okay, at a minimum. Most of the time, if I'm looking at VPs, I'm looking at the C-suite level, because if I look at the C-suite level version of your path, right? If you specialize in, let's say, digital transformation, you've got a bit of an ops background, and you've got an emergent people background, right? I can look at the C-suite level leaders who've taken your background at that level, and not only can I pull the relevant job titles, not only can I pull the relevant keywords from those profiles, which you absolutely should, right? From that level, at least 2 levels up. What are the keywords? What are the branding clues? What types of headlines? That's the thing under someone's name, right? Study the headlines of the most visible people at that level. What can you use? What can you borrow to increase the visibility and the positioning of where you are? You cannot under any circumstances be thinking conservatively in terms of who you're looking at. If the people that you're targeting right now on LinkedIn, right, and definitely you should be doing some of this. If you're operating in a black box, don't even bother going out into the job market, because again, you need to assume you do not have an accurate understanding of your market worth, right? So what you need to do, at least 2 levels up, right? Build yourself a bit of a short list of competitors, right? People who make you a little bit nervous, people who make you go like, damn, this is amazing. Like, I can't even believe that's the people that you need to start collecting. Grab their LinkedIn URLs, grab their keywords, start implementing some of those keywords into your own, start implementing some of those brand elements into your own, okay? So benchmark at least 2 levels up in terms of your competitors. 0 negative information. I don't know what it is about being stuck in an underpaid situation, but when I see people's resumes who come out from there, I see weird explanations of why you get laid off, why there was a market downturn. It's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. You're not making a case to shareholders, right? A resume, like a LinkedIn, is a heavily skewed marketing document that is meant to position you in the most attractive, exclusive light possible and to give you the most possible leverage. If anything in your verbiage, in your brand is not doing that, get rid of it. It's better that it not be there than it be there and not helping you. And I just see a lot of lack of confidence, right? Listen, again, treat it like a blip, okay? That role was a blip, and not just a blip. There's an additional bonus tip I'm going to give you right at the end of this that'll help you actually broach that last job in the actual interviews you're going to have, but it'll also just reaffirm the psychology behind this, because there is a psychological element to this, right? You've got to stand in a bigger light. You've got to be bigger than just one circumstance or some company, right? Companies come and go. You don't, right? That's the methodology. So high-level brand, 0 negative information, benchmark at least 2 levels up, balance out the last role when it comes to your brand, LinkedIn, resume in particular, with other stuff, right? If the last role was not ideal, right? If the job title was not ideal, you can highlight the scope and the outcome, right, to balance that out. If the role itself was not ideal, how about the last 2 roles you've had? You can amp up the positioning there, amp up the outcomes there to balance it out, right? What's the visual that we're taking away? Don't let the role you want to get away from be the only thing that I can talk to you about or the most interesting, right? Rebalance out the last 2 or 3 roles you've had, and especially the first page of your resume, the first section in that LinkedIn profile, in the about section, and the headline needs to be really positioned towards where you want to go and your current level of impact. It shouldn't be rehashing old history, okay? It definitely should not be relying on just years of experience you've had. That just looks so dated right now, okay? Okay, number 2. We talked about how level your brand and your offer is. Let's talk about how targeted you are with who you speak to and how you pursue opportunities, okay? Very simply, all right? If you've been underpaid, the hidden job market should be your number 1 source of opportunities. You're gonna run into more than your expected amount of resistance going up against these low-level gatekeepers, because the second they glom onto, oh boy, look at this guy's been making 20-30% less than market. Dude, there's no way that it's gonna work in your favor. A far better way would be to rebrand yourself first, or get help in rebranding yourself first, then make the moves necessary to start dialoguing with C-suite, largely level leaders in the target areas, industries, companies, etc. that you want to be talking with, right? And from that area, you need to be focusing on delivering value in that first call. In other words, there's no such thing as just having networking, coffee conversations. Use your brand and use your positioning and your experience to deliver a higher level of value. Look, everyone needs help right now, right? Executives, leaders, they need help right now. Call it whatever you want, right? But a 15, 20-minute call, a 30-minute call with a professional who could lend some insight, right? Like I'm not an operations expert, but I run a business. So if I'm talking with someone like you who's an expert in operations in the right context, and you build enough trust with me for me to start giving you some ideas, so asking you some questions about what works, how far of a jump is it from what I'm discovering through our conversation to constructing an offer around you? Almost nothing. I've just described what the hidden job market is if you take away all the frou-frou and the complexity of it, right? That's the way that you want to be thinking about this, right? You want to be thinking high level. How can I get entrance at the high level? How can I talk like a leader at the high level? How can I use what I've discovered throughout my 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years to give me an unbeatable edge, right? Talk with people at that level, because they're going to look at what you've done in a positive, not just as a risk-based sort of thing, right? Which is, you're going to run into that with gatekeepers all the time, all right? Get out of that trap. Don't even waste time 30, 40 hours on these job postings. And by the way, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, right in my about section, tap the hidden job.market/ASAP. That's our latest masterclass me and my team have put together that will show you an end-to-end methodology of starting to generate high-level opportunities using the hidden job market in this way. If you want to go deeper, that's where you want to go. Engage is the last tip. Please, please, please hear me. Now is the time. 3 to 5 posts a week minimum will have an enormous amount of impact on your networking, relationship building, and your vitality out there. You've got to get out of thinking of yourself as just a secondhand stand-in for a brand or a job title. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet, right? Think about ways that you can boost the signal of other leaders in your network. Think about ways that you can share information that is not just relevant in the industry, relevant in terms of the leader, the human being that you are. What are ways that you can add value, ask questions, move it forward in your network? Start now. Now, not post-offer, not in some mythical time in the future. Now, make it an act of defiance against this former job that you've had, right? Make all of this an act of defiance versus the imperfect that you have experienced. Final tip, remember that bonus tip? Don't hide, absorb the negative experience as an example of what not to do. You are the leader, great. That opportunity you had, here are the strategic priorities when we started. Here's what me and my team were able to accomplish. Here's the problems that we ran into or I experienced there. And here's why moving in a different direction to make impact here onwards is the right move. Right? Use them. Don't hide from them. Don't internalize the bad experience. Use it as an example of what not to do. Use it as an example of IT done the wrong way. Strategic operations done the wrong way, right? Hold it up as an example of what not to do. It can be just as powerful as a positive use case or a positive case study. Hope that makes sense. If you want to go deeper with me, take a second, follow me on LinkedIn. I would really appreciate that. The name again is Anish Majumdar. Talk soon, guys. Have a great day.